Hi friends, Miss Bilta here. Just want to give you your daily social studies lesson. This week we're focusing on climate and how humans and the world adapt to different climates around the world because we know not everyone lives in the same kind of environment. So the first day we talked about what is climate and what is climate like around the world. Yesterday you talked about what affects climate, so why does certain climates happen in certain areas? And today we're going to talk about how humans, us, how do we adapt to climate ourselves? So I'm going to go ahead and start reading. All I need you to do is follow along as I read. Human beings can adapt to many different climates. If you've been living in a cold place but move to one that's hotter, your body will soon acclimatize or get used to a new climate. For example, your body temperature won't rise as much when you exercise and you'll sweat more than you used to. Human bodies are amazingly good at acclimatizing. That's why people can live almost anywhere on Earth. Whole groups of people have adapted to different places over time. So, a word that we kept hearing over and over again so far in our reading is that word adapting. Adapting is when someone is able to move from place to place and they're able to change their way of survival, if you would like to call it, into a new place. So, us humans are very capable of living anywhere, which brings me to our question: which animal can survive in any climate? You, and all other humans. Our bodies handle cold in certain ways, like shivering, and we respond in other ways, like sweating, especially when it's super hot. That's how we handle the heat. We sweat it off. But when it comes to survival, the main thing we have going for us is the human brain. We use it to invent things that help us stay comfy in different temperatures, like air conditioners and fleece jackets. Okay, now the next thing here we have is homes. Okay, so there's two pictures of some homes. A home on the left looks very similar to a house that you might see around the Chicago area. The home over on the right side, I don't think you would see that over here in our area, but let's go ahead and read. We have a home in Virginia, we have a home in Malaysia. Okay, so it says which house is better designed? That depends on where you live. The house on the left is fine for most people living in the United States, but the one on the right is better for life in a hot climate with heavy rains. That house has few walls inside, so cool breezes can blow through. Its slanted, overhanging roof protects it from sunlight and rain. The stilts keep it above water during floods. Okay, very good. So groups of people who have lived in hot climates for a long time are often tall and thin. You need to remember that for your questions later. Their arms and legs are often longer than those of people who have adapted to cold climates. The Mahasi people live near the equator in East Africa. Their tall, thin bodies and long legs and arms help them get rid of heat quickly. So as you can see in the picture, they're very lengthy, they're very tall. That helps them actually. People who live at very high altitudes, so like really high, like up on mountains, have adapted over time to their climate zone. For example, these Sherpas from Nepal live way up in the mountains. At such high altitudes, the air contains less oxygen than at sea level. Many Sherpas have bigger chests and lungs than people who live at lower altitudes. That means they can take in more oxygen from the thin mountain air. Okay, remember, if people have lived there for a decent amount of time, their body is accustomed to it. Their body has adapted to it. So they're able to take in more air. Whereas if I was to go on a mountain, I don't usually climb mountains. It would take a lot of air for me to try and breathe in that extra air. Okay, on the left picture here, we have parkas, leggings, and mukluks, furry boots, which help keep these Inuit children warm in their polar climate zone. Their clothing is made of animal skin. The skins are turned inside out with the fur inside. That makes the skin even better at trapping the kids' body heat. So this is a picture that's showing you how humans in a cold climate are able to adapt. So they have made fur coats and fur boots that help them stay warm. On the other hand, on the right side, the opposite of that, it says, why does this Saudi Arabian boy wear a long sleeve robe? It protects him from the heat desert sun. Remember that for your questions later. The loose fabric lets air circulate to help cool him, and the robe's light color reflects the sun's light. It absorbs less heat than a dark robe would. I don't know if you've ever heard, but when you are outside and the sun is beating down on you, if you're wearing a darker color like black, you tend to get heated very quickly. Whereas opposed to something like a bright color like white, it doesn't take as much for you to get super hot. Now, before all of our air conditioners and all of our fleece jackets, what did the early Americans have to do? Let's find out. Early American houses were really chilly on winter nights. They had no furnaces, no central heat, and no electric blankets. How did people warm up in a cold bed? They would fill a bed warmer, like this one, to the left here, with hot coals. Holding the end of the pole, they slipped the warmer under the covers and moved it around. Then they took it out and hopped into a nice toasty bed. So instead of having an already warmed up blanket, they just take this tool here, they warm it up underneath the bed, and then they climb into their warm bed. People using their resources. Now, here we're going to go to Chile real quick. Not Chile that you eat, Chile the place, the country, okay? There are lots of clouds in the sky in Chungango, Chile, but it almost never rains, which means it's probably very dry, as you can tell from the picture, in this little seaside village. The clouds just roll by until they reach a nearby mountain. The clouds cover the mountain in wet, rainy mist. Scientists help the villagers find a clever way to catch the clouds and bring the water to themselves. They put up huge plastic nets on the mountainside. When the mist blows through the nets, tiny water droplets in the air cling to the fine mesh. The droplets drip into containers which are connected to hoses. The water then runs through the hoses and down to the village. So back to the picture, you can see the nets that they use. This helps them get the water that they need that they aren't getting normally. And if you feel like having a little fun and want to try something out, try this. Ever wondered why you sweat when you're hot? Do this experiment to find out for yourself. Put one hand in warm water and then wave both hands in the air. Which hand feels cooler? As water evaporates or dries, it takes heat away from your skin and that cools you down. Sweating works the same way. Waving your hand in the air speeds up evaporation so you get cooler faster. A summer breeze does the same thing. So that's like when you're outside and you're playing in the summer breeze and you're playing outside and it's super hot and you go for a swim and then you get out and you feel that cool breeze come through. You get really chilly for just a split second and then it goes away. That's because your body's adapting to the climate. Okay, your body's adapting to that sunshine, to that cool breeze. Okay, so that's all today, friends. So when you go into your questions, you're going to be answering questions about how humans adapt to climate. There's 3 important questions you need to answer. And that's all I have for you today. So Miss Bilta out.